we will go deep into the realm of the unknown and question everything as we search for the truth. We will explore the possibility of countless phenomena within the ultra spectrum, and together we will learn that it is all connected. This podcast is brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association, and it is a live stream broadcast. If you have a question, send me a super chat or become a YouTube member. This podcast is brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. Take a seat, relax, get ready, and welcome to Beyond the TinFoil Hat.
Hello, everybody. It's been a while, many moons, and welcome to Beyond the TinFoil Hat, and may the 4th be with you. Today is Thursday, May 4th, 2023, and I, Ryan Stacey, am your host this evening. I'm a licensed private investigator in Ontario, Canada, a citizen journalist, and the Director of Investigations for the Experiencers Support Association. Welcome to the channel, and thank you for joining us this evening. YouTube channel members, remember that you get priority over the questions tonight. If you want to become a member, click the big blue button that says join. And while you're at it, hit the bell so you can be notified when all members of the Experiencers Support Association release their latest content. And if you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, give me an update in the chat on the score. Round 2, baby. Let's go. All right, let's get this party started. Our guest for Season 5, Episode 6 is Victoria Rader. Victoria empowers her clients to grow in all areas of their life through the proven formula of success so that they have more peace, purpose, and prosperity. In 2009, Victoria became a successful top 1% of real estate agents while homeschooling her kids. Victoria started training and seeing the limitations imposed by the subconscious mind. Later, she received a PhD in metaphysics to understand better how we create our daily reality. Victoria also got certified in many energy healing modalities and traditional success coaching and approaches and founded free ME, capital E, EFT and Quantum Freedom techniques to free one's mind. In her practice, Victoria witnessed physical healing for her clients, including a miraculous heart healing for her nephew and practical power shifts in finances, career, and relationships. Victoria loves teaching on the universal and God's law and their practical daily application for people of faith and spiritual seekers, which bridges the gap of judgment through love, which is actually defined as life-originating, vibrant emotion. In 2022, Victoria received a Kriya Global Award from Brains Magazine, along with Breen Brown, I hope I'm saying that right, Richard Branson, and others in recognition of creative and innovative ideas, adaptivity in business, and contribution to sustainability and mental health projects. You can find Victoria at www.you2shine or you2shine.com, www.manifestmiracles.me, moneyquiz.me, as well as Instagram and LinkedIn. Victoria, put on your tinfoil hat. We're about to go down a rabbit hole. How you doing?
I'm still putting my hat on. Hold on. I'm happy to be here. Right
on. It's okay. So we're going to start with our icebreaker question. I'm just going to play a little jingle there. All right, so our icebreakers question tonight is brought to us by our support group called Experiencers Anonymous. So the question is, if you could add a word to the dictionary, what would you add and what would it mean?
I have quite a few of words that I have added to the dictionary, mixing a few languages that I speak. And so one of those words is tuparina. Tuparina is a mixture of Slavic languages that means kind of dull, but with a humorous inspiration. So I vote for tuparina when in the dumbest, dullest of moments, when you laugh your head and other parts off, you feel an insight and an inspiration. So I move for tuparina.
I like that. That sounds nice, the way you say that. I'm not going to attempt to do that. It will not sound as graceful as that. For me, I'm thinking this is kind of what I'm really working with right now. Is this term called foology, which is actually ufology without the U. And what that means is it's flying objects. So meaning we know what they are now. They're not unidentified anymore. So we need to put that term in there for that. So awesome. All right. So an amazing and impressive bio. Please tell me why you are the way that you are. And what I mean by that is, how did you get here? Start as far back as you want to go and explain. Let's talk. Let me get to know you.
It's interesting because in a little pre-interview, you kind of mentioned that question, and my mind's been thinking for the last couple of minutes. I homeschooled my son, and when he was about 3 or 4, I don't remember, homeschooled both kids, but that's the story about him. I was teaching him capitalization, and I spelled his name with big capital R, and I said, now let's look at this name. How do we begin a name? How do we begin a name? And he paused. He looked at me like, Tuparina, how dumb can you be to ask such a simple question? I'm going to be using my self-made words now, right? And he said, by being born, of course. My limited grown-up thinking was thinking we capitalize a name, but his uninhibited thinking was, how do you begin a name? By being born, of course. And so, yeah, I am who I am by first being born, by being born, of course.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I believe with every fiber of my being is that people like to think of pivotal moments, but to get to the pivotal moment, to get to the turn in the road, you got to be walking that road, sometimes crawling it, sometimes rolling in it. And so I truly, genuinely believe that every single moment, every mistake I made, every triumph, internal or external, is the result of who I am. I was born in a former Soviet Union. Ukraine was a part of the Soviet Union, and the country was falling apart. The regime was dying off, and so you had these kind of die-off patterns where the limitations were still there, but the punishments were not as severe. So you still couldn't really practice external freedom, but you no longer were sent to Siberia or executed for it. So that was my upbringing, the beginning of my upbringing. And since I always speak by surrendering fully to the flow of the spirit, the divine inspiration, what comes to mind right now for me to share is the story of my dad, I think. My dad was both parents were journalists, and my dad was the editor-in-chief of a governmental newspaper. Now, all newspapers were governmental. All 3 TV channels were governmental. The Soviet Union had 2 newspapers. One was called Izvestia, which is news, and one was called Pravda, which is truth. And the joke was the news had no truth and the truth had no news. So my dad was a journalist, so it's not saying a lot in terms of covering the truth or being able to produce the news. But he was covering, the sports and mostly. And so, but in April 1986, Chernobyl happened, which was a nuclear disaster when the nuclear plant had an explosion. And the government asked him to fly to Chernobyl, to drive actually to Chernobyl, because it's a drivable distance from where we lived, and to come back and report that all was well. And so he drove there 2 days, a day and a half after the explosion. He came home. He was throwing up for a couple of days with minor radioactive poisoning, and he refused to report that all was well, because all was not well. Till this day, it's one of the top 2 nuclear disasters on the harshest scale. And so, and what was happening after that, I believe, was the forming of who I am in terms of my values. To see my dad take a stand for what he believed, and the circumstances that followed. As I've said, the repression long stopped, so our family was not repressed or sent anywhere, but he gently was removed from his position to only cover the athletics. There's no longer a possibility of promotion. What it meant for me and my mom, we shared one pair of boots where I went to school in winter, where dad walked me to school, and then I would change my shoes, and the shoe boots went back to my mom to go to work. And my brilliant mom sat me down and said, "Aren't you a lucky girl? You get to wear grown-up shoes to school. You don't need to tell anybody. You don't want to get them jealous," right? So looking back, I can see where all these values formed. And integrity became non-negotiable for me. I think it's very important when you say, how are you who you are? Integrity is non-negotiable. Now, I am a flawed human being because we don't come any other way. But I live in complete integrity of being that flawed human being. So that's kind of the journey of where it begins and how it begins. Now you can tell me which aspects of the journey you want, and I'll be happy to talk your head off.
No, that's good. No, that's good, and I appreciate you sharing that. I made a couple notes too, and it's kind of like I was born in '86, so and the I did read a lot about Chernobyl and all that other stuff, and I found that fascinating. But to hear that your father was there, and part of that makes it really, really personal. But I'm also for that true journalism where he had direction, but he went against it. So I just want to kind of acknowledge that or recognize that for because there's journalists out there that do follow that command to make ends meet, and that's the problem we have with ufology and paranormal today, because journalists do what they're told to do. So it's that's something that I want to acknowledge. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, so then let's get into more of what you're doing now then. So let's talk about the 3 P's. You said peace, purpose, and prosperity. Why are those important? What are those, and how do they work together? Let's talk more about that.
Looking back into anything and everything that has been both a failure and a success in my life, I've come to understand that money comes and goes, and it only stays if it follows a path of this peace, purpose, prosperity thing. So I'll talk about that, how it is formed, at least for me, and how I've seen it formed for my clients. As a kid, I had a lot of psychic gifts. There was no such word. There was no word psychic to describe the gifts that I had. But I had a lot of fun intuitively with no training, flipping coffee cups and teacups and being able to read them by tuning to a person's energy and say, hey, this is what I think is happening. So much so that I was a 10, 11-year-old kid, and my parents' friends would come and we'd sit down and we'd chat about that, and it was just fun. It was just fun. There was no attachment to the outcome. And then the attachment to the outcome happened when I was about 16. I was going to college in Kiev. And every Saturday, a bunch of girlfriends would come over to my house, and I did card reading. There was no tarot at that time in the Soviet Union, so I would just do card reading. Also, no training, completely intuitive, that inner knowing, right, that I now call inner knowing, but inner knowing of, oh, well, let's see what we can do here. And once again, it was a lot of fun to be like, oh, you're going to have a breakthrough here in this topic. And until one day, there was a young girl whose name was Anya, and I saw very clearly, could feel without hesitation of a doubt, that she was going to lose her dad. And I froze in my tracks. I didn't know how to verbalize it. I didn't say anything. I just said, I'm tired of doing it. Let's just kind of stop, And then the following week, her 45-year-old dad at the time died of a heart attack. And it was such a talk of the loss of peace, right? You don't know you've lost peace. Most of us don't know we have peace until we've been stripped of it. It's very important. Some of us keep seeking peace while we have it. Recognizing that you have peace is huge. And I'm going to talk about that. Peace versus numbness, peace versus denial, like real peace. So for me, that presence of peace was living in my talent and receiving joy for it. So two parts of really peaceful being is you are who you are in your integrity, and you experience joy as sharing your inner talents. So all of a sudden, sharing or not sharing your inner talent, in my case, leads to an event that you cannot explain. A lot of us lose our peace when we have no explanation. This is the first huge practical advice I could probably give somebody, is that a lot of stuff in this life will not have explanation in this life. And if you are set on finding an explanation for it at an expense of your own peace, you will spend a life without peace. And it's a tragic way of being. And so what I say is that when you are on the logical pursuit of researching the answers to questions, it's brilliant and it's wonderful, and it has to exist within the limitation of the purpose for the research. So the discernment would come and say, these questions have a practical answer. I will pursue to find them without losing my inner peace. But these questions, I choose to understand that whether I have answers or not, I'm going to invite peace. It's a huge realization. One of the things is to not try to understand something that is below your frequency. What do I mean by that? So many clients, or I'll be giving a speech, and people are like, well, I just don't understand. How could this, that, they do this? How could murder happen? I'm Ukrainian. How could this horrible war be happening? How could people be doing the atrocities they're doing? I just don't understand it. Now, the need to understand that will never bring peace. Why? Because peace is a much higher frequency than violence. So if you are seeking to understand hatred, if you're seeking to understand violence, you are doing it at a cost of your inner peace. So there are things that can be forgiven. There are things that can be observed without need to lower your emotional intelligence to the level of understanding them. Because to fully understand a murderer's mind, you've got to have one. So if you don't understand 100% how something horrible works, I would like to tell you, congratulations. Congratulations. And this is how predators spiral down from being a victim, listen up, to being a predator. If you wanted to understand how it happens, not to experience it. A child will be abused as a child. That child has two paths to go. One will be a path of forgiveness and inner peace and understanding of who they are born to be. Understanding who you're born to be and living in integrity with it will bring peace. Understanding why horrible things happen to you, unexplainable horrible things happen to you, will lower your frequency and lower it and lower it and lower it until the abused, the victim, becomes a predator. So every victim has two very clear pathways: a survivor, an overcomer, an inspirator, a person who found peace and shares peace, or a predator who lost all of their peace from unhealed trauma and now are after robbing that peace from others. Wow. So that is the peace pathway. The peace pathway is choose what you are to understand, what you're to forgive, and what you're to observe. Choose what questions to ask when you're understanding, or observing. Most importantly, choose to understand who you are, who you've come to be, what your purpose is, and understand whether you're a spiritual person or not, whether you're a religious person or not. Understand that there is an unexplainable light in you that, when fully understood, allows for you to be who you're born to be and to find that internal peace. So that would be the peace. Instead of feeling shattered in pieces, you go for, there is a piece of me that is always peaceful. And no matter what happens around me, right? The affirmation, put your hand on your heart, the love center, you put your hand on your solar plexus, the light center. You actually ground into the love and light that you are. And you say, I'm at peace. Just doing that, I'm at peace. Shit's happening, I'm at peace. I don't need to understand the shit. Shit's happening, I'm at peace. Okay, it's huge. It's huge, and that's peace. Now, once you connect to the infinite love that is within you, there's a million ways to do it, but once you connect to it, you let go of the anxiety number two. What is my purpose in life? The ego wants, what is my purpose in life? I've come to change the world. The world is unaware that I've come to change it, right? There are these anxious moments of, I've arrived. The savior's here. But the purpose is much simpler than that. Once you find peace by knowing that you were born for a purpose, and how do I know that? The infinite intelligence that created you, if there was a better matter to fill the space-time continuum that you currently occupy, it would have been done so. And it isn't. So you, where you are at the very moment of your existence, is the very freaking best this universe chose to be capable of. Whatever level of performance you are. Phenomenal understanding. Brings lots of peace. Brings a lot of peace. Knowing, hey, I'm at a 1% function here. You talked about predator. I'm full in, but guess what? Turns out I have a place in the universe. And the way up is up, right? Okay, so we've gotten that. Once you get the piece of being who you are, you ask a very simple question. Who's the one person I can serve today from the place of my gifts? And when you answer that question daily, your purpose becomes apparent. So I'm at peace with who I am. I'm going to serve from the place of peace. One person today. Who's that one person? The more you answer that question, the more your purpose becomes apparent. And when you look back, the dots start connecting and you say, wow. So because purpose for each one of us is to be alive. We have come to be alive. That's our one purpose. To be fully alive, to be unrestricted in life. And when we have a luxury of first finding peace and then living purposefully through serving others from the place of our gifts, a miracle happens and money comes, lasting money, prosperity comes. Prosperity that comes as a result of you peacefully and passionately pursuing your purpose.
So that blew me away. That was phenomenal. That was a very good detailed explanation on that. So like in real time, that we were scheduled about a month ago, and we had to reschedule because I had to do some work and stuff. But then once that was done, while I was doing that, I was reflecting. I almost didn't come back to this podcast because I've been questioning myself, thinking, what is my purpose in this phenomenon? Right. And I stood away from once I stepped back from the negative and all this other stuff and tried to recenter and do all these other things. And to hear that on the first episode back really rang true to me because, I'm trying to find peace. I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to figure it out because I've gotten a lot of challenges. But the way you explain that, like, Chris, make a timestamp. We're going to have to replay that on repeat, like when we're having low days, because that was beautiful. And thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Well, there are no coincidences, right? And the more you seek, the more you find. Actually, in Prosper Me book, one of the laws I wrote about is the law of synchronicities. And the law of synchronicities is the first sign of alignment, and it's huge. I talk a lot about the stages of development, and so you're first aware. A lot of us are unaware. If you are in prison and you're not aware you're in prison, you cannot break free. It's that easy. When you're in a cell, and the cell is the size of a country, let's say I grew up in the Soviet Union, when the cell is the size of a country, and everybody else behaves like they should, you're unaware you're in prison, you're not seeking freedom. You can only seek something when you're aware it's there. So the awareness is the first thing. But after the awareness comes alignment. So the alignment is I'm aware these things are not working for me. So next question is, what would I rather have in my life? That's such a powerful question. It's the way you've said it, because the second you ask it, you open the law of universal alignment. It's like, oh, I thought you'd never ask. You know, the universe is like, I thought you'd never ask. And so that awareness leads to alignment. And then it's taking daily action in alignment, daily action in alignment. And actually, golly, for years now, I've done this whole thing of the annual theme where I ponder in the beginning of the year, what is my theme? I know it's been very popularized to have a theme for the year. People come up with a word or with a phrase, you know, some people do that. I highly recommend it. Looking back on my life, in my very long bio, by the way, I have to look into that and edit it. I was like, dang it, I hope somebody else is going to listen beyond that 45-minute bio you just read. You know, so in that very long bio, there was a story of my nephew. And I got to tell you, the theme for the year for my nephew was healing hearts, helping hands, expanding joy. And for the whole year, I was like, oh, I'm going to help people. You know, I'll open people's hearts. I thought it was so figurative until my sister-in-law was diagnosed in utero, and she was still carrying my baby nephew, that he had 5 heart conditions. Well, they first thought 3, then 5, and to make a very long story short, by the end of the year, he was born with 5 severe heart conditions. He was wired up. The second he was born, he was taken away from them because they had to pump oxygen through his aorta, because one of those were severe coarctation, where the aorta was blocked and there was no oxygen flowing. He had 2 valves that were not closing. He had a hole in his heart, and he had a murmur in his heart. He was scheduled for a surgery 48 hours after his birth, his first surgery.
Wow.
And it was the most trying and beautiful period of my life where I had to apply all capacities of witnessing different modalities and healings and trusting that I'm not the one controlling the outcome, that I'm a witness of a conversation between that little guy's intelligent body and its creator. You know, just a very raw period for us as a family with a very happy ending. 48 hours later, his coarctation opened up. He was, after 240 pictures of the doctors taking them, preparing for the surgery and seeing no longer was needed. And then month after month after month, within 6 months, he was no longer considered to be a heart patient. So just that story alone could be hours. But the reason I'm sharing it is the theme became apparent to me at the very end of the year. And it's very often that way. So hopefully somebody who is aware and is looking to be aligned and is asking how to be aligned, I want to give 3 powerful questions. At the beginning of each year, you're going to ask, what is my theme for the year? And that intelligence that was within you is going to come to you. And then every month, in the beginning of the months, ask yourself, what is the theme for this month that is going to support my theme for the year? So you're using your brain for inspiration and for regulation. We're combining both. And then $1 million tip, really. It has made many a million to many clients. Every day, you know, and I tell people, let's habit stack. Let's do it between you peeing and brushing your teeth, because that's when I have your undivided attention. Every day, ask a simple question. What is the one decision I am to make, or one action I am to take to support my theme for the months? You will get an answer instantaneously. That becomes your one non-negotiable task for the day. Everything else is a bonus. Your life is a bonus. Grocery, business, kids even, this is a bonus. Why? Because this is your one guided, inspired decision. And if you implement it daily, after a few months, you look back and you cannot believe miracles that start happening for you.
I believe that theme of the year is interesting for me. I've had an experience in this phenomenon, which is why I'm trying to, learn more about those on the psychic spectrum. And for the last few years, I've had, many years ago, I had a list of words that were supposed to be progressive for these years. This year is unity, but the year before that was rebuild. The year before that was destroy. And I think the year before that was preparedness. But when I had this experience or this meditation thought, however it came in, as if you look back on the world, we kind of went through that preparation and then destruction, then rebuild, and now unity. Next year is contact. So, if we look at the UFO kind of phenomenon, all this other stuff, maybe we might get some contact next year. So prior to hearing what you said, I just thought that was a coincidence, but then it made sense. So what is your, but I didn't intentionally create that word for the year. So there might be, we'll get into that kind of a little bit later, but that I just wanted to kind of touch on that I found that really, again, brain ninja'd me. I'm supposed to be interviewing you. You seem to know a lot more about me. What I'm going through.
This is to give chills to you, me, and everybody listening.
Yeah.
So one of the many programs that I do is called Spiritual Gene Coding. It's a very high energy program. I have this group that I do for. Anyway, tomorrow is full moon, okay? And during full moon, I do a very particular program where we release the shadow of something that appears to be. We stepped into the gift of it, and we activate the gene code, the spiritual gene code for being. So this is really cool. Tomorrow, May 5th, we're doing gene key number 45, and it's going to be called the Miracle of Atonement as at-one-ment, releasing the shadow of dominance, stepping into the gift of synergy, and activating the gene code for communion. So my friend,
unity. That's right.
Unity. This is as aligned as it could be. At-one-ment, atonement, and of course, I'm playing with a law, with the law of atonement, the Christ energy, Christ teaching. I'm very big on Christ or karma. You get to choose every day, but that's a whole other topic.
I guess I'm psychic and I didn't know it. I don't know. That's their synchronicity. Their synchronicities, though, right? Because so imagine a month ago if we actually had the podcast when it was originally scheduled. We wouldn't. This conversation we're having right now is like, and if my wife is listening, she last few days I had questioned, whether or not God does exist or there's presence and things like that. And she kept saying, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" And then she's reminding me that signs like this is evidence of that. So I just want to acknowledge that if she's listening, that this is one of those moments. I'll stop saying it. I get it. I got it. I don't need to know, right? And I appreciate what you're saying about the ego, because I get the ego of mine can be filled quite fast, and I'm trying to challenge it every single day. But it's a bitch. It's really once it's there, it's really hard to fight. But I'm acknowledging that, and I'm aware of that. But I do appreciate the thought process where I'm fueling that and I'm not getting peace because I'm trying to answer that. And if I let that go and just focus more on that, and of course, these are things my wife says to me all the time. So I'm gonna give her credit first. I'm listening. So, it's just, I don't know. This is blowing me out of the water. Okay. Let's talk about metaphysics.
Yay!
We got a few minutes before a break. We got 10 minutes before we go to break. You have a PhD in metaphysics. So what is metaphysics, and how are you using this PhD of yours in relation to what we're talking about, or anything else?
Well, first of all, I use it for my ego. Listen, the three letters that open lots of doors, a PhD. I mean, it's like a magic key in our society. Okay, that's and I had to go to ego thing because it just needs us to love it.
Mm-hmm.
Really, I have these conversations with. I have echo a little Vika. Come on, little Vika. You've got to stop hitting your head on the wall. It's gotta hurt, baby. Come here. Come, I'll hug you, right? I mean, because anyway, so metaphysics, it's actually a branch of philosophy, and it's a branch of philosophy that focuses on possibility of being, and for me, it's become very interesting. In the Bible that you were covering in 2005 or 6, in 2006, yes, I had this brilliant idea. I was going to take my kids because I chose to homeschool them, was guided to homeschool them, and I was going to travel the world and teach them real life, not from the books. So I packed my, at a time, almost 5-year-old and 8-year-old, and had my mom, and the three of us went to Greece for 3 weeks with minimal expenses, as unplanned as it could be. We started traveling Greece and, learning phenomenal ancient culture. Because a lot of the history, as we know it for the West, starts in Greece.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we're traveling, incredible experiences, amazing learns. I come back home, and you talk to your husband. I'll talk with my husband. Your wife. I'll talk with my husband. He sits me down and he says, honey, this is great. I don't know how it works in the Soviet Union, but here in the U.S., the plastic you're swiping, it's not attached to anything. We now have debt. I'm like, what? You can actually spend money you don't have. I mean, it's like basic law of prosperity. You don't spend money you don't have. But not to worry, not to worry. We've been empowered to live in debt. Okay, so I sit down and I tell you exactly what happens. I go on Google and I Google what is the fastest way to make money in America while staying home. And the all-knowing Google tells me real estate. And 2006-7, if you recall, this is just boom, there's predatory lending galore. People that should never be buying are buying mansions here in the US. And so, of course, I don't know any of that. I just know that real estate is the fastest way to make money. So I get into real estate. Now, I'm biologically, neurologically a very shy person. I'm an introvert on steroids. And so that was a very difficult period of my life where I spent a lot of nights sobbing, meeting people, and learning how to serve people I didn't know. But the reason I'm sharing this is because I worked only limited hours because I was a full-time mom. And I was a full-time mom who would negotiate her travel. I was continually taking my kids. I drove 3,000 miles by myself in 10 days, seeing the 10 national parks, me and my 2 kids, right? Having paid for it completely from real estate. So my kids' life was non-negotiable. So the sobbing was the price for non-negotiable. The means of developing a business was a practical financial solution. And all of a sudden, the brokers started inviting me to speak. They said, wait a minute, and I don't work on Sundays. Sunday is a Sabbath for me. It's a day when I reconnect to God as I know God, right? You've talked to God. We can agree, great overall designer. I tell people they're no atheists. They believe in great overall design. If it's a big bang, it's a big bang. We all have God, great overall designer, whatever it is. So, but for me, it was my day off to reconnect to the inner strength that I am, to be with family. And so all of a sudden they're saying, wait a minute, you work, you homeschool, you travel, and you don't sell homes on Sunday. And you're top 1% of the agents in the US. How do you do that? And I wanted to answer from practical point of view. And I started sharing practical point of view. And then I saw people not being able to do what I did. And the question became, this is not what you do. This is what sabotages you from doing what you're born to do and what you can do. What sabotages you? And that question became a reason I went and got a degree in metaphysics, because metaphysics answers that question. It answers which part of you, unseen, unknown part of you, controls 97% of your reality. So you're going to decide you're going to run, you buy new jogging clothes, you're out there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you're like, my body needs to sleep. I got to be kind to my body, right? And we pick a pattern. So I was keenly interested. Who is this inner saboteur? How do I talk to it? How do I heal it? And metaphysics answers all of those questions.
Okay. What are the answers to those questions? I'm curious to know.
Should we wait till the break?
Yeah, that's true. Okay, we'll. That's perfect. Okay, I was totally. Usually, I get prepared for the break, but I was totally into that. So give me a second here. That's great. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll pause right here, but we will continue after a message from our professional partners. If you're listening to the audio-only replay, head over to youtube.com/the Experience Your Support Association to see the video that goes with this audio. This includes the after chat where I will share Tessa updates and talk about current investigations that I'm working on. And tonight, I'm just going to be hanging out in the chat, playing catch up with everybody, and we're just going to have a good chat. Remember, you're listening to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, a podcast by the Experience Your Support Association, and we will be right back.
Have you ever wondered, or maybe just thought to yourself, if there were others just like you? You know, people with extraordinary abilities, psychogenic advancement, and perhaps unique intuitions. Maybe you just wondered if there were other people who experienced unimaginable, unexplained, or even unusual and paranormal events. Are there people who have more questions, more fears than answers? Well, you're not alone. You've never been alone. We believe you. Sign up for EA today.
Your assets are worth protecting. Blacklight Investigative and Surveillance Services specializes in patrolling and inspecting residential or commercial property against fire, theft, vandalism, terrorism, and illegal activity. People and buildings are monitored to prevent crime. Keep your property, your people, and your assets safe from threat. Our elite staff are dual licensed private investigators and security guards. Blacklight Investigative and Surveillance Services. Go to blacklightiss.com.
Welcome back. You are listening to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. Have you ever experienced an unexplained event involving the paranormal, UFOs, extraterrestrial, dogman, or any other paracryptid? Head over to experienceyoursupport.org and click the purple button on the top right corner and click Submit a Report. The more reports we get, the more we will understand these phenomenon and how it affects our people. But the others who have already reported be that example that proves we are making a difference. And if it wasn't for these reports, we would not be able to do what we do. And for that, we thank you. All right. I go downstairs. Quick little break in between. My wife is laughing. She's like, aha, I told you. So,
Hey, it's not just unity. It's unity in womanhood today.
Yeah,
Go women, unite and heal men.
no. So I'm not going to be able to live this one down, and it's documented proof, So, okay. So we were talking metaphysics, and you were saying metaphysics answers specific questions. Remind me of what those questions are, and let's get into those answers.
Yeah, the self-saboteur, the question everybody wants to know. I know what I could be doing, should be doing. I know I kind of want to be doing it, and yet I am not doing it. There is a knowing doing gap. Knowing doing gap. How do I bridge the knowing doing gap? You bridge the knowing doing gap by finding and shifting the deep subconscious programs and beliefs that are quietly, silently are dictating your programming. Okay, so what are they, how are they formed, and how do we shift them? Yeah. The most simple example we don't have to do simple. I have what I need. Wait a second. Oh, I'm so lucky I had it because I was showing it to the kids earlier. Okay, this is a toy. You can buy it on Amazon. Okay, this is called Energy Stick. It is like $11.99 on Amazon, maybe $12. In other words, this is not a secret device that I possess. It is a commonly accessible toy. Okay, so you can see that it has foil. Oh, how cool! The tinfoil hat. It has the tinfoil hat on both ends, okay, very conveniently for us. Now we know that in electricity, if I take one part and I don't close the circuit, this is an open circuit. I'm touching the metal with one hand and it's an open circuit. So what happens in electrical circuit when I close it? Yeah, it is so cool. I can do this all day long. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be doing it now for a long time. Okay, I want to explain what's happening here. First of all, this is the coolest toy to have in your home. Why? Because it shows you that we're electromagnetic beings, and I'm going to be talking about it, and it's cool to see it here. I'll do it again. What the cool part about this is, for one person, yeah, it's plenty cool. Okay, I am electromagnetic. I am making things work. Okay, I'm going to put it away because, my show might be cut short for non-behavior here. Okay, so the cool thing about that toy is that if you put 2, 3, 5, 10, 20, doesn't matter how many people in circle, and if all of them hold hands, and you choose to put that device between any two people, as long as both of them hold the foil part, the energy of the whole circuit will go through and will activate the device. It's phenomenal. But what's even more phenomenal, if those two people continue to hold the two receptors, but anybody else in a circle breaks hold, the device stops, showing you the transfer of energy in a circle. So when I do energy training, once your mind sees that, it cannot unsee it. All of a sudden, it's not just woo-woo talk. I'm energy. I'm a cloud. We all get it, but we don't, because our conscious has to see for the subconscious to believe it. Okay, we're like, I believe, but when I see, I really believe. Okay, that's for all of us. Okay, so why is that so cool? The fact that we're electromagnetic beings. Our thoughts are electric. Every time I think a word or a thought, there is a neuron that jumps over synaptic gap. There's electrical signal with every one of my thoughts. Calm, 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 calm. Say calm 50 times and see how you feel. you'll feel calmer. Why is that? Say calm 3 times, you'll feel calmer. Why is that? Because electrical signal creates a magnetic field. That's a basic physical law. Electrical signal creates magnetic field. In a human being, electrical signal that we saw in that little device creates a magnetic field that is called our feeling, our feelings. So we are electromagnetic beings, or we're thinking, feeling beings. Now, we don't know what we think. 90% of our thoughts are unmonitored by our mind. Our thoughts are on the back burner. Somebody said, I don't remember who it is, I would have given them the credit of the quote. How does it go? 1% of people thinks, 3% think they think, and 96% would rather die than think. I mean, it's unfortunately very true. So why is that so important for our conversation is that how do you know what you really think is how you feel. If you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling heavy, if you're feeling depressed, angry, frustrated, in denial, resentful, any feeling you have, you will attribute to the situation that is outside of you. You're going to say, oh, dang it, that made me so angry. Mm-hmm. And that was simply a trigger to show you that as a pattern, you're thinking angry thoughts. You're unaware you're thinking angry thoughts. You've inherited that pattern. 3-4 generations back, you had a grandpa. Grandpa probably had, I don't know, green eyes and had angry thoughts. We're not freaking out that you inherited green eyes, but just as you inherit physical patterns, you inherit emotional patterns. You inherit thought patterns. That's why twins at adoption, 45 years later unified, 8 out of 10 twins, identical twins, will be in the same field of work because their thought patterns wire them for certain fields. So once you understand that your behavior is driven by subconscious thoughts and feelings. Feelings are subconscious, thoughts are conscious, but a lot of our thoughts are so deep that they are only accessible to us through feelings. Once you understand that you are on an autopilot, you can learn the compassion and forgiveness for yourself, which is very important if you want to grow. Otherwise, you'll be in denial and judgment of others. But when you say, wait a minute, I am not to blame. I'm responsible for learning and healing and growing, but I'm not to blame for some of my mistakes. Really, my programming made me so. Once you understand that, then you start looking for those patterns, finding those patterns. And the immense joy that I receive is shifting those patterns. Because once you shift a person's subconscious pattern, they access a new level of freedom. And for me, one of my very big purposes in life is setting people free, setting people free. And that's where that process of metaphysics of possibility, first finding, shifting, and claiming a new level of being for you.
Wow, amazing. Everything's hitting home. Okay, so let's add a layer to that. You love to teach, and you've mentioned this already, the universal or God's law. What is that law? And what is it about it that you love to teach so much?
Yeah, the shortcut is there's only one law, but I of course teach hundreds of laws because there are millions, billions of us, and each one of us is learning through a different practical law. So there's really, all of us have come here for one purpose as I see it, and that is to surrender to love. And by love, I have an acronym for love is life originating vibrant emotion. And emotion is energy in motion. We've really come to be fully vibrant, to live life fully. And 2 stories that I want to share on that'll bring things home, I believe. Maybe one story, we'll see how it goes. how it hits home best, right? So the universal laws are aspects of defining how life becomes accessible to all of us. They are non-deniable, they're forever existent. We call them universal, not because they are laws of the universe, but because they can be applied universally to everything. To everything. Let's take the law of gravity. The law of gravity works for you or against you based on your choices. The law of gravity is great when you're driving a car, so it doesn't fly off the road. It's less great when you fall down and you hurt yourself. The law is the same, the application is different. So there's hundreds of known laws. I wrote several books. One is called Until You Shine, and that is on spiritual laws. One is called Prosper Me, and it's 35 universal laws to make money work for you. I think money is a very spiritual concept if understood properly, actually. And so all of those laws are here to teach us how to work through energy of love. Now, what does it mean to surrender to love? First of all, I've mentioned I'm Ukrainian. If you're not watching the news, we're not surrendering very well, okay? We're not surrendering people. It is not in my genes to lay down and to take it. And yet when the concept came to me through spiritual seeking, you've got to be better at surrendering, I was like, wait a minute, I clearly don't get what it means. So I'm in one of my sacred places, my temple. I'm sitting there on the bench, and I'm really pondering, praying, meditating. What is surrender? I get that it's the most important concept, to surrender to love so that I can live a full life on purpose. I can prosper and I can guide others to do that. How do I surrender? And all of a sudden, I feel this very strong prompting, I call it the still small voice. Lift up your feet. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm very comfortable being an idiot 24/7 because I love myself as I am. So, I can't be any stranger. So I'm going to lift up my feet. I'm in the middle of this place where people are trying to be reverent. The girl is sitting on the bench, feet are up. I'm swinging my feet. Okay. And then the feeling comes, you're now surrendering your weight to the bench. So when you learn to surrender, you surrender all your burdens to invisible support. You trust that somebody else has got it for you. Now, how do you practically apply it? I mean, it's a great theory, great, wonderful story. How do you apply it? I can tell you, I'm a very forgiving person. I can forgive things happening to me. But when my daughter was hurt, that forgiveness was absent. And as a mother, I knew I wasn't able to forgive. And the poison, how do I know? Stop asking, how could it happen? How do I know? How do I get that wisdom? From having gone down that rabbit hole, right? So when I'm asking, how could this happen to anyone? How could this happen? And feeling the poison of it, and then saying, I cannot forgive, and yet it is destroying me. So I'm going to talk to that invisible power that is trying to teach me to surrender. And I literally prayed what I believe is the most powerful prayer of my life, where I said, God, I can't forgive, and I know I should forgive. So I need you to forgive through me, for me. I'm going to surrender this. This is too heavy. I cannot lift it. I'm going to surrender it. It was probably the most miraculous moment of my life, when all of a sudden I understood that true power has nothing to do with my strength and my force. The true power has everything to do with complete surrender, because that burden was lifted. Till this day, I don't understand how something could happen like that, but I have no need to, because it has been forgiven for me and through me. It has freed me, and it has freed her.
Wow.
Phenomenally. So to visualize that, as a kid, I was a 5-year-old kid, very curious, was playing with a little doll. And my little doll needed to have a hanger for her dress. So the inventor that, I'm born to be, I pull out a metal pin out of my hair, I find an electrical socket, and I plug in my pin into the socket. Now, the electricity is twice what it is in the US. Miracle happens. I don't get electrocuted. I don't get electrocuted because the fuses in the house blow. And I often say, and so does my grandpa, who's watching me, right? He's running in, he's like, what in the world are you doing? You're going to be killed. And that's a whole other trauma story. But for the power story, that is such a great example that there's electricity. We looked at our little, toy, electrical stick. There's electricity coming to the house. There's power supply coming to the house. And it's the same to all of the electrical outlets. The power is the same. But despite the fact that the input is the same, the output is very different. A 5-watt bulb is very dim. A 100-watt bulb is very bright. It's not the input that defines the output, it's the amount of resistance inside the device. And so all of us as electromagnetic beings have infinite flow of power offered to us. All of us. Some of us shine super bright because we've surrendered the resistance into the light. Some of us are dimmer because we're trying to survive. We're afraid to let go and to surrender. We still insist that we're going to carry our crap on our own. That's the path of empowerment.
You write books, right? You got all this in books and stuff, right? It's moving. This is like therapy. Like, this is great. So, so thank you. Okay, so let's add another layer, because it's beyond the tinfoil hat, and it seemed to be kind of layering this appropriately. Let's talk about manifestation. I think that might be the next, part.
Yeah, once you surrender, sky's the limit. Oh wait, there is no limit. Okay, manifesting is such a popular topic now, right? And it's cool because people will come all the time and say, dang it, I've tried it, it doesn't work for me. Well, first of all, here's the thing. We're all master manifestors. All of us. You cannot be better at manifesting. This is who we are. We make things manifest. Right. So what changes is the awareness of what we manifest and the choice that we manifest. There's a lot of talk in a spiritual society right now, or in enlightenment groups, that is bothersome for me, just bothersome, right? I'm not trying to understand it. Where there's a lot of this thing about, well, enlightenment is when there's no darkness. And I'm like, yeah, that's not what it is. You walk into the room. Let's look at the basics of manifesting, okay? Basics of manifesting. You walk into the room. It's dark. You turn the light on. When the flip goes on, what you see is where things are. Manifesting is bringing things into the light, okay? Bringing things into the light. And in my language, I say manifesting is transforming possibility into reality. So let's break down step by step how you transform possibility into reality. First of all, you want to know that something is possible. If you're unaware something exists, you cannot manifest it. And if you manifest it, you won't see it. Do you know that when Columbus first arrives in Americas in the ships, the natives do not see the ships. They have no comprehension of what they are. For them, he's just appearing on the waves. It's phenomenal. Our brain can only see what it can conceive. It can only see what it can conceive. So to manifest, the step number one is something is possible. So for me, a girl who grew up in Ukraine and every summer spent with my grandma with an outhouse, no indoor plumbing, water from the well, outdoor house, good old times. Wouldn't change for everything. Still believe it's a part of making of who I am. A vision of having a beach house is a big stretch. Why? Because in my mind, I don't know if such things exist. I don't know of the ocean quite yet. I don't know the beach home quite yet. Now, when I'm married and I have kids, we go to our first beach vacation and we are renting a beach home. And into my awareness comes an idea that it's possible to have a beach home. It's the first step. It's possible. The second step is very important. That's where the healing happens. It's possible for me. It's possible for me. I tell people as a possibility coach, it's not just showing a person a possibility, it's healing the gap of possibility. Not only this is possible for me. Once I believe it is possible for me, then I'm going to say, how do I make it probable? How do I create it into my life? How do I make it probable? That's the path of possibility. In practicality, you want to manifest in alignment with your divine path. If you're manifesting something that will sabotage your soul's journey, you will not manifest it. Because if it comes at an expense of your higher purpose will prevent you. So the very first step, now practical, grab a pencil, good stuff coming juicy. First, you want to find out what it is you really want. Not what you think you want, not what you rebel to want because you were not allowed to have it, not what you're expected to want. First, you need to find what you want in the very core of your being in order to manifest it. How do you do that? You're going to write 4 questions and you're going to answer each one of those questions without skipping them, because we want to access both conscious and subconscious mind. The first question is, what do I want? Very simple. You put down what do I want and you write everything. If you don't know where to start, ask what do I want to wear? What do I want to live? What do I want to have? What do I want for my body, for my health, for my job, for my wallet, for everything you want? Time yourself, say 3 minutes, flow for 3 minutes. If you go over 3 minutes, great, but just 3 minutes to get everything you want. Then the next question is, what do I want the most? Because in a lot of the gibberish, there is something that you really want that maybe you're even scared to admit that you want. I work with a lot of very successful women that somehow decided that they don't want to have children because they want to have a career. And when I talk to them and I say, both are possible if that is what you want, are you going to allow yourself to know what you want? You might not want it. You might genuinely not want it. But if you do, and if you don't pursue your desire now, when you're 75, you become my other client who's full of regret because they pursued what they thought they wanted to numb themselves from what they really wanted because they decided it was not possible. So it's very huge. What do I want the most? Number 2. Number 3, we want things because we're seeking certain outcomes. So you're going to ask yourself, what outcomes, plural, do I want? If you were to get what it is you wanted most, what would you feel? What outcomes do you want? And then the last 4th question is, what outcome do I want the most? Once you arrive at that 4th question, what outcome do I want the most? You now know what you're ready to manifest in alignment with the core of who you are. So now you're going to ask a practical question. What is the first step I can take today to live out of this outcome? So that is a journey of discovering. Once you found that outcome and you take practical steps, you're going to describe that outcome on a piece of paper. Now, I was very lucky to have Bob Proctor as one of my mentors for a short period of time. And Bob Proctor used a phrase, good old Canada, see? using it, for your countrymen. He used to say a phrase, I'm so happy and grateful now that. So you're going to write on a little index card. Bob loved index cards. And that part I love of what he was taught. I'm so happy and grateful now that this outcome, whatever it is in my life now. And give 3 or 4 bullet points, write 3 or 4 bullet points of what you feel like having it. And before you go to bed, very important, before you go to bed, read that card and fall asleep imagining yourself in that situation. A, your brain is not preoccupied with stuff you have no solution for. You're not poisoning your body with stress. And for the first 4 hours after we fall asleep, our subconscious mind is programmed to create neural pathways to seek solutions for the vision we fall asleep with. So as you read the description on your index card and you fall asleep to it, and you wake up in the morning and you ask a practical step, what's my one step towards living from this outcome? There is no better, more powerful way to manifest anything that I know of. And the second I discovered, I'll be sharing that. But this has helped thousands of people.
That's interesting. Well, that's good. That's good stuff too. That's all good. And I appreciate what do you want most and what outcome do you want most. That makes sense, because like when with meditation, you've got a lot of wandering thoughts. And if you are able to write them all down, and then be able to look at it and reflect it, without doing that exercise, I do feel like I can see how that would be helpful. That would be helpful for me. I have a lot of fleeting thoughts that I need to write down and figure out. But to determine what I want the most, I don't know that. But to ask that question when I have everything in there, it seems easy now. That's the solution. Yeah. It's just remembering to ask that question. And then what outcome do I want? If you're not sure, you can write a whole bunch of things, and then eventually it comes. So I mean, it sounds simple, but that extra question, those are powerful. So I want to acknowledge those. So thank you for that.
Welcome.
I don't think I can really add another layer to that, because unless we want to talk about consciousness and psychic activity, in terms of how our, the metaphysics behind the energy that we are, in terms of pulling thought from other people or other places. That's another. Do you want to get into that?
I told you, open book. You ask, and it's going to come right at you.
Hat. So I'm just trying to layer it to get deeper and deeper in this rabbit hole.
It's actually perfect. It's actually perfect, and it's very guided, because I want to talk about me, not me as me, but me as each one of us when we say I am me. My book, Prosper Me, our app, Empower-Me. By the way, 3-minute guided meditations there for starting or pro meditator, phenomenal. We add up to that app, honestly, the best product that we have in terms of affordability and value. Okay, so it's Empower-Me. Now, what about that little M big E, and why it's so important to answer your question through that? The way that concept came in was really through channeling. I tend to be busy. I was incredibly busy, and with a lot of programs going on, and all of a sudden it was like, cancel everything, you're writing a book. Next thing it was like, this is the name of the book, and it's going to be called First Love Me, then Prosper Me, but it has to be spelled little M big E. And I'm like, okay, that's very cool. So, that probably is pattern interrupt. Somebody walks into the airport, they see the book, they're like, why me? And it's a good question, not why me, why does my life suck, but why me? Curiosity, good question. Except that I recommend, when you get insight, ask the next question. So I say, okay, is there a better explanation for why little M big E? And it was gorgeous, the understanding of everything I teach, and the conversation where it spiraled us to right now, because it's a formula for who we are. We're both mortal and eternal. Little M for mortality, big E for eternity. We're both matter and energy. We're both manifesting and expanding, and we're material and essential. A formula for me is little m big E. My job to surrender to love is to surrender my mortal to eternal, matter to energy, material to essential, and manifesting to expansive by surrendering to love. Both are equally important because energy is a transmitter and matter is a receiver.
That's that metaphysics PhD coming out right there. That's it.
Okay? Transmitter and receiver. So we're all one through the energy that we are, and yet we transmit through the individual physical being of who we are, through the filter of who we are. The more pure the filter, the closer we're to the intended transmission. The message of unity comes. If my physical matter filter is damaged, broken, violated, I'm going to go to war because I understand unity through perversion of my damaged matter. If I'm a spiritual leader, I will call upon oneness. The message of energy is one and the same. It is received by our matter differently. Listen to our language. We tell a person, you matter. Wow, it doesn't even matter. When you matter, you surrender to the energy of love. When you feel you don't matter, you isolated from that energy of love. And so how do we share oneness? There is one dominant frequency of love that is broken down by infinite frequencies of transmitted matter. The earth is matter, it transmits its frequency, we receive it from it. The known or unknown to us, extraterrestrial, is a matter that transmits that energy, and we all receive it. So most of us, ironically, argue having received the same transmission through the prism of our own limited matter. The psychic gifts, the more a person who is psychic is the person that is pure. The more pure, the more psychic. The more pure we become, the less we are here to condemn and to judge, the higher our frequency of our matter, the more pure the transmission of love, the more we understand the message that is coming. So when the message of freedom comes, the message freedom is, my channel is Free to Be One on YouTube. So the message of freedom is be free to be one. And yet some of us here, I'm free to take from you. While others of us here, I'm free to defend myself. While others of us here, I'm free from this crap. Others, I'm free to be who I am. But the message is free to be one. We are invited to be free to be one. That is that transmission that is happening through all of us.
Wow. Okay, we're almost at the end, which I kind of almost wish we weren't, because this is quite going. There's a lot going on here, but I have your website up. Before we go, I have the 3 links, so I don't know which you would want to maybe talk about and guide people to in relevance to what we talked about tonight. Is this the best one here? This YouTube channel?
Yeah, so YouTube Shine is the homepage.
Okay.
If you land to the homepage, I'm booked for individual clients through 2024. I don't do individual clients, but what I've cleared space for instead is free 15-minute consults. And so what I do during that time is you truly see the luxury of 15 minutes when you work with subconscious mind. I help you identify your subconscious block. We shift a part of it, and then I tell you where in the app or where in the book to continue the journey of self-empowerment, and or if there is an incredible coach on our team that can support you. But that is kind of the free offer that we have there. And then when you go to free Manifest Miracles Masterclass, it's my baby for brainiacs. If you love brain candy, it's a 2-hour free program on 6 mental faculties of manifesting miracles. So for 2 hours, I do exercises and take you through, this is how your brain is wired. This is how you bring it into harmony so that you can manifest miracles in your life. And then for less patient kind, that is not into 2-hour brain candy training, we have the moneyquiz.me, and that is where you take a really cool quiz that shows you what your driving emotion in life is and how it helps you and yet blocks you from prospering. So people love the quiz. And once again, I don't know why it comes in so powerfully. Somebody who's listening, I'm going to say it because it's coming through me. One of the cool thing about our app, Empower-Me app, is a My Grief set. Grief blocks manifesting. Most people don't manifest because they carry subconscious suppressed grief. There's an amazing aspect to that app that frees you from grief. So for what it's worth, I think that probably is the most vulnerable message of what I'm getting.
Okay. I'm having difficulty with my mouse. Chris, could you remove the screen for me, please? My mouse is doing that weird thing. There you go. Thanks. I can't get the mouse over for some reason. It does that. Okay. So final thoughts. We got 5 minutes left. Where can people find you outside of that website? What do you want people? Where do you want people to go? What do you want most? How about that?
It's funny that you asked that. What a great question. Because I was sitting here and I thought, people can find me. They see the name, they see the face. Mm-hmm. If you want to find me, you're going to find me. I'm going to get emotional because today I want you to find you, right? If you're listening, if you're watching, I want you to find you. I'm going to share with you a story that inspires everything that I do. It's a 2-step story. And the story starts in 1400s in Italy. And there's a Greek sculptor, his name is Donatello, and he is asked to carve a sculpture. He is given a huge slab of marble. He studies that marble for months and he says the marble is faulty. It has veins in it. And veins means it's not stable, it'll crack easily. So he rejects that marble completely. 50 years later, out of the same marble, another sculptor that we've heard the name of, his name is Michelangelo, carves a famous sculpture of David. Sculpture David still, till today, stands in Italy, in the open elements in Florence. Traveling with the kids, we got to see David in the rain, 600 years later. And so Michelangelo's contemporaries ask him, how could you possibly carve this magnificent sculpture out of this faulty marble? And he says, I saw the angel in the marble and I carved until I set it free. I just think it's such a gorgeous reminder, right? So there is a part in each one of us, there's part in you that is so infinite, is so gorgeous, and is so eager to be free. Just got to chip away at the marble, got to keep chipping away at the marble. And that is probably my biggest message. And in terms of finding me, you'll find me.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. I did put a link in the chat for those that are watching. There are links in the description. There is a link on the banner to find her. Thank you so much for your time tonight. I'm glad that the universe had, made me take a break at the right time, and I was able to get this message from you and all of this with everybody else. I really appreciate your time. So if it's time to go, but unless anyone is interested in hearing some of the latest updates from the Experiential Support Association, we got a lot to unpack, got a lot to talk about. If you want to pick my brain for a bit, so stick around for the after chat. If you're listening to the audio only replay, your show will end here. You will need to head over to youtube.com/the Experiential Support Association to get the after chat. If you want to follow my work, for those of you Want to follow me outside of the Experiential Sports Association, you can find me on Facebook and Twitter. And thanks again, Victoria. Everybody, thanks for watching. Keep your eyes in the sky and heed the world. Heed the world.
That's it, everybody. That is a wrap. That is the end of it all. Thank you for joining me tonight. I look forward to seeing you back next week, where we'll continue to have this conversation deep down into the rabbit hole in which we call the ultra spectrum. Thanks for joining us. I said that already. Oh well, fuck it. Heed the world.
Holy shamoly, that was a show and a half. That was great. Thank you so much for everyone who stick around. If you're in the chat, please continue to comment. I'm going to say hello to everybody and a shout out to Chris for his work in the back studio. He's doing pretty good there. And that little thing at the end, that was my fault because I wasn't sure if you were going to click it on time, and we clicked at the same time. But that was my fault. We'll fix that in post. Don't worry about that. But thank you so much. All right, so who do we got here? Alien Girl 111, if you're there, thank you so much. Lisa, good to see you as well. And I think Logan, yep, there's Logan there, giving me the score. I hope it gets better before the end. And what else do we got here? We have my name is Ray. So Ray, up to your normal shenanigans. Good to see you. I'm glad you missed me too. And I think that's everybody that's here. So if you got questions, throw them in there. Logan, don't give me any more bad news. Let me know when we win. All right. So, Chris, you can bring yourself in at any time. I'm just gonna kind of unpack it a little bit. As you guys know, I took a break. I wanted to sit back and reflect and figure out, what exactly I wanted to do. Because if you guys have been following me my entire path, it started with MUFON, started with, different people and learning things and learning information and trusted people. And I got into this mix and I've done all these other things, and then creating the Experiential Sport Association out of all that. But I was able to touch every single important person in this phenomenon. And having done that, I am no further ahead than anybody else in this phenomenon. I was stuck in this circle, stuck in this thing. And by removing myself from it, for a little bit, I've realized how much that has affected my mental health. And it took me to remove myself from that to actually realize that, so much to the point that I was like, okay, I don't want to go back into that. I don't want that stuff to happen again. So I almost didn't come back to this podcast because I was afraid or concerned that I would just fall back into that darkness. And what better podcast to be the first one? You know, that is absolutely phenomenal, absolutely perfect timing for everything that needs to help. And it helps me kind of solidify the way that I want to do things within this phenomenon moving forward. I used to do a lot of things because I thought that was the way I was taught. That's the things that everybody wanted. But what they wanted in reality was causing harm. And being an investigator and understanding how people are and trusting, and then that trust being broken, and then all these other things going back and forth. And then the icing on the cake for me is, if you guys haven't really noticed, no one else has been talking about Canadian UFO stuff because I haven't been posting about it. And I've been posting it, and then it gets stolen, and then everybody is famous about it. And that used to irritate me. But now I got some validation that when I stop doing the work, they stop getting famous. And for the wrong reasons. But I still need to do the work. I just have to change the way that I feel about it. I got to change my purpose. I got to understand my purpose and all that. And again, validated and reinforced with Victoria tonight. I mean, I'm completely blown away. Or maybe it's the break. Maybe it's relaxed. Maybe that we had a good day today with work. Everything is efficient. I don't know. Or maybe it's the full moon tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe there's something in my water. Who knows? But I'm feeling great right now, and I'm glad to be back. And what did you say, Ray? You would have to come back. People don't ditch what they enjoy that easy. Yeah, I had to figure out what parts of this I liked. You know, what parts of this I wanted to give my energy to. What type of, things that I need to do. And what I've learned on my break is that I've been used. I've been manipulated. And that's not happening no more. I got a plan. I'm going to do exactly what I want to do. I'm going to put the information out there in the best way that I want it. And these guys can stay behind and eat my wake, and now I have a team. I have other team too, as well. I got Logan and Chris that are going to assist with investigations and stuff like that and behind the scenes. A lot had to change too when CC had moved on to run her business, which is going great from what I'm seeing on social media. So CC, if you're watching this on the replay, I hope all is well. But yeah, I'm focused more now than ever on doing the research and just putting it out there and just letting it go. I'm no longer going to care if people don't like it or think I should do this and do all this other stuff. I'm not going to be responding to any more bullshit. I'm going to observe. I still observed and watched. So, this UFO thing in America is still shit, by the way. That hasn't improved, and I'm happy about that. But, there's still a lot of noise in there. But not being a part of that anymore, I feel good. I did help create that environment. So I had to take accountability that these people got uglier when I assisted them. And that was weighing hard on me because I wanted to help. And by helping, it just added fuel to that fire. And that fire wasn't the thing that I wanted to burn. So now I have to be careful with the information I put out. I have to be careful with the information I share. And I have some strategies with that. And once I get the team all ready to go and they can help me, we're going to get just the information out too. And then I can focus on cases, focus on the people like I promised I would, and all these other things. I got books to write, I got things to do. And we also do have some new members of the Experiencers Support Association coming. So maybe we should talk about those a little bit. So on our website, we do have some updates. So our latest investigations pop up on the front. Our latest declassified documents will pop up on the front. Obviously, you haven't done anything since February. And that's why you haven't seen anything in the news, because people aren't stealing my shit. And then what else do we have that's new? There's something else here. And think who we are. Is it on the team? Team page? Nope, not that one. This one. We got some new faces. We got some new people coming. So Chris as well. Logan, as I mentioned before, the administration is run by a bunch of us, but we got Alex Mistretta. You guys remember Alex? He's officially on the team now. We just haven't announced it yet. His bio is on there. So Alex holds a Bachelor of Science in Anthropology and Psychology. He's a former Director of Investigations for MUFON Los Angeles and has worked alongside parapsychologist Dr. Barry Taft. Alex has completed several Bigfoot expeditions and specialized in African cryptozoology. He is also an international expert on television as a cryptozoologist, ufologist, and a paranormal investigator. And he's also a published author. So he is part of the team as well. Dawn Marie Peterson. Dawn is an experiencer of paranormal and UFO phenomenon since an early age. She is a Reiki master, intuitive healer, medium, automatic writer, and channeler. In addition, Dawn is intrigued by past life regression, ancient languages, esoteric arts, parapsychology, cosmology, alchemy, and quantum mechanics. She is a published author, and she spent over 20 years as an administrative professional. So she's actually going to be writing some articles. There's an article that she has finished and completed. It's been edited. She's approved it. So eventually that's going to come out, and we're going to announce that. She will also be a guest on the podcast. So we'll get to know her a little bit too. Alex, I'm going to bring him back on the podcast to do a little a recap. But as I do the investigation, he's going to be my go-to guy for the cryptozoology stuff, and then hopefully help with the research when I finally get these books underway. Jennifer Blades, I do not have her bio. It is in our emails, but I have to upload it. She is another individual who will be writing for us as well, who's excited to do so. I will read that bio when we have it. Another guy, if you remember the podcast, One More Thing Before You Go, that I did with Michael Hurst. He is now a member of the association. So he is a writer, and he's going to help with some other things as well. So Michael is a podcast host, producer, keynote speaker, author, and retired police sergeant. He holds a Master of Arts in Interdisciplinary Studies in Performance and Digital Media. He also has a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Management. Michael explores the metaphysical, paranormal, and supernatural aspects of life. He is a devoted family man, an animal advocate, a vegan, and an admirer of nature and creative arts. His mantra is always stay positive, inspire, motivate, and educate to help mankind move forward. You know, as I mentioned too, like these guys here, they want to, they want to help with the Experiencers Association. I'm going to give my time and dedication to these individuals. They want to help. They love what I've been doing. They want to be part of the movement, and I'm happy to bring them all on. And of course, I've also asked Michael to be a part of the Evidence Review and Intellectual Development Unit, which IRDU. And Alex Mistretta has always been a part of that, but it's official. So this unit reviews all evidence submitted and collected by Tessa to ensure consistency, authenticity, and accuracy, as well as determines dispositions, categories, and classifications selected through investigations prior to the Experiencer Supported Association's annual public reports. This unit is also responsible for creating and producing the curriculum for the Interstellar and the Academy of Ufology and Paranormal Studies. Okay, so they are part of my research team. When I compile the data and I have it all and I've ruled out all the fluff, I'm going to send it to these two individuals for their opinion to try and narrow down some of these things that are left unknown. And then collectively, the book will be published with our thoughts. Now, if we get more people on the team, then eventually we'll be able to rule out more, and then we'll be able to figure out what kind of experts we want. Alex being an expert cryptozoologist, and very good with anthropology. I think he has a PhD in anthropology as well. And Michael Hurst, of course, being a police sergeant. He knows the chain of custody and evidence and how to find things, so it'll be very good for continuity and everything like that too. So if you guys are watching, awesome. Thanks for doing that. That's pretty well all I got to say. Chris, you want to come in and share some thoughts? No, you're good. All right. Well, everybody, Logan, what's the score? What's the score? Tell me the score. But we really don't know what's coming up next. We got a full lineup of guests for the podcast. While I was away, people were signing up like crazy. Had no idea that there was an interest. We didn't even market it. We didn't do anything. I'm glad you guys missed us. I'm glad I'm back. Still 3-2. God damn it. I'm not glad about that. How much time's left in the period? So yeah. But anyways, Lisa, what'd you say? Well, Lisa, I've been on Contact TV. It was a good interview. Oh, awesome. So with Leslie and Wes, right? Awesome. How was that? And you did mention something earlier. What was it? It was, you said you never told me that you have psychic abilities. Yeah, that hasn't come up in any of the reports yet. That's interesting. Did you learn those from Angie? Because I'm curious to know about that too. Final score. God damn it. All right. Well, I guess we got some work to do. But anyways. All right. Well, that's that's it. Anybody else have any questions while we wait? Chris, you got any questions? You got lots of reels to do? You make lots of notes? I can see him nodding in the background. Yeah. Make as many reels as possible because this was a good show. This was a power show. Do 100. Can you do 100? Yeah, you're going to do 100? All right. 100 reels due tomorrow, 9 a.m. Yeah? He's like, no. There he is. Hi.
As long as you pay, I'm good.
Are you going to stay up all night and you're going to do them?
Sure.
You're going to do 100 1-minute reels.
Yep. It's going to be 24 hours that I have to do it, and you got to pay for it. It's all good.
So here's the thing. You know how I know you're not going to be able to do 100 1-minute reels? And do you know how I know that?
Because it's not 100 minutes long.
Exactly. It's a 90-minute long podcast, so you will not be able to do that. Anyways, hey, we had a long day at work. We're back. How was that for you, man?
It was good. I was trying to get everything done, but someone kept doing my stuff for me.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm used to being in control. You know, it's kind of hard.
Okay, I know. We'll get there.
Lisa says hello, Chris.
Hello, Lisa.
Okay. So, what did you like most? What was your take home from all of that?
I liked everything.
Yeah.
It hit home a lot.
Yeah.
And
I felt like I was she was doing a background on me.
Yeah, it looked like it was, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's good. What hit home? What was the take home message for you?
Just everything, like love yourself. Like it's just I can't explain it. It just the whole thing just I'll be up for a while.
Yeah, I'll be up for a while too, listening to my wife say, "I told you so. Told you so. I told you."
That was my favorite part.
You see.
Yeah, that was my favorite part.
And you know what? Let's talk about that. It's the ego. It's that ego, which is the son of a bitch that makes me not want to accept it. I know she's right, but yet I need to kind of like. I don't accept it. And then having other people bring it to my attention, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what it took for me to realize it. But as an investigator, I'm stubborn in a certain way, and I got to hear it like 100 freaking times before I'm like, okay, all right, I can't deny it. But these synchronicities and shit, that's what really gets me is when the universe, lines things up. Is that a coincidence? Could be.
I think.
But there's a lot of things that have to happen in the world to line all these things up. So I got to get to a point where I'm not challenging it anymore, and I'm just at peace. I love that philosophy of, you're gonna, once you stop looking for peace, you'll find peace.
Right.
Just be at peace and forgiveness and letting things go and meditate and all that other stuff. Like all that stuff is received. Just got to do it. Very stubborn, Logan says. Is that a self-proclamation, or are you talking to me there, sir?
Probably talking to you.
I'm talking to you. Yeah, I am stubborn. I'll admit. At least I can admit to my wrongdoings and my problems. How about that one? How about them apples? All right, Lisa says, I've been talking to other experiencers and my where did you go, Chris? Get back here. I have been talking to other experiencers and my counselor. My experiences with the MIB are like my lab experiences. Okay. So counselor, are you like you actually are able to have these conversations with a medical professional? You don't have to share that, but I'm curious because that's huge because we want people that have have these backgrounds being more open to the possibility. So if that's the support you're getting, that is great. That is great. Of course, you, sir, Logan. All right, Logan. I'll deal. I'll just Logan's all like almighty and powerful. We'll deal with you. We'll deal with you. Don't worry about that. But anyways, all right, kids. I guess that's it. Nothing more, nothing less.
No.
I guess we promised 10 minutes, didn't we? 10 more minutes. What are we gonna talk
Yeah,
about?
we technically did.
Yeah, we did say. So we got 10 more minutes. Give us stuff to talk about. Opus. Okay, I know him through Opus. Okay, awesome. You got to remind me what Opus stands for, but we had that dude on there. What's his name? Les Velez from Opus, right? OPUS. I'm just quick Google search. No, it's paranormal something. You gotta remember that paranormal. Yeah, nothing quick is coming up. Lisa, please type that in for me, and then I'll read it out. Yeah. So, Chris.
Yes.
I guess we're back. You ready for a lineup of podcasts?
Yeah, I can't wait.
Mm-hmm. We're stacked. We're booked all the way until June, possibly July.
Are we?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Once I confirm everything, yeah. Got
Nice.
lots coming, and we didn't have to do any of that. So we should acknowledge that there was enough.
They missed us. AKA me, but
yeah, it was definitely you.
Yeah, it was me.
All the 5 years that I put in this show, and then you showed up for one episode, and they missed you.
Yeah.
The whole time.
Yeah.
See, that's the ego. See, that thing is a son of a bitch. But no, I'm great. It's a good way to end the topic. Oh, just because he says it. No more flat earthers, please. Wow. Can't promise that because that shit's controversial. That shit's pretty good. And since we got satellites on spy balloons, that's ammunition for those guys because they've been saying it's been on satellites all the time. And I'm not saying I'm a flat earther, but I'm pretty damn close. So,
and you're converting people too.
Well, I'm not converting people. I'm explaining possibilities and things like that. We're starting a conversation. You have your own thoughts. You have your own opinion. The shape of the earth, of course, doesn't matter. What matters is the possibility or the existence of other land. And if there's other land, there's more resources. And that's what I have a problem with because there's a lot of, and all these other things in Dr. Rader. That's why I support that movement. Not necessarily the science, because it can go either way. But I do acknowledge and support the idea of the government not telling us the whole truth. And that's no different than ufology. It's hypocritical for me to support that and not support that movement when a lot of it is the same. Yes, I know, Lisa. You've seen the earth many times. It's round. I do not have the ability to be a super being like you are. But one day I might be able to see it, and then I'll be like, okay, Lisa, you're right. Or I could be like, Lisa, you're wrong. Come see, let's go look at this together. But, I don't want to get in that rabbit hole. I guess we're in that rabbit hole. But you got to remember, it's not a literal flat plane. It's got hills and valleys. And it could be within a larger circle or globe or dome. All these theories could exist. It'd be a combination of everything. It depends on the context. It depends on the perspective. But when we're talking consciousness and we're talking time, everything is linear. Everything is flat. Consciousness is flat, right? But I'm not gonna get into that. I think it's a deeper meaning. I don't think it's a literal thing, but I think it's more so a way to explain interdimensions. Saying the earth is flat is kind of an archaic way of making us all sound a little silly. But if you get into the hidden meaning, the esoteric meaning of it, and actually try to understand how it applies to consciousness, it makes a lot of sense. But physically, yeah, maybe we're stuck in a dome. Maybe this is, or in a globe. It doesn't matter. It's a simulation. We can't get out. We can't get out. We're here until we get our wings and we're gone. So, yeah, but I'm not gonna do that. We've got another flat earther on here. There's a whole bunch that I'd love to have on, and all that other stuff. But to be continued. What I want to learn more is about consciousness, paranormal, and how it affects our people. Got to get these investigations. I got to get these cases going. I got to teach Chris how to do some research to help get all that other stuff, and do all those things. And yeah, all these things don't really matter. Just want people to be happy. All right. Got 6 more minutes. Do I have to do the full 10 minutes? Do I have to?
Not if you don't want to.
All right, that's it. No one, you guys aren't talking. You guys aren't asking questions. That's the end of it. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for watching. Gotta play your music here. Where is it? Yeah, there it is. There's my cutoff. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Keep your eyes in the sky. And we'll see you for another episode of Beyond the TinFoil Hat. And unless Ray brings it up, I won't be talking about flat Earth anymore for a while anyway. But yeah, have a good one. Peace out. And thanks, Chris. See you later.
If you want to really, really find out about Ryan, ask him about all his work and UFOs in Ontario.
Ryan is one of Canada's leading new UFO investigators. He conducts and oversees UFO investigations on a constant basis. He's compiled a tremendous amount of data regarding UFOs in Canada.
I have used his research extensively. He's much more than a one-dimensional character. He's an authority on UFOs and investigating them, Meg.
Wow!
Really goes over how UFO investigations are done and what are some of the mistakes that people make when they submit evidence. For starters, don't edit your videos or photos before you send them.
He would come out with an annual report on not only the number of sightings, but how many were unexplained, unknown, or just, nothing could be said. What caused
it? If you
it?
want to hear more follow-up conversation between Ryan and myself, you can go to richardolanmembers.com, where we have a candid conversation on ufology, the paranormal, and more. And remember, while we learn and grow and search for the truth, let's be good to each other.